Have you ever left a meeting, a party, or a class replaying everything you said, wondering if you sounded weird, awkward, or just plain stupid? You picture everyone else thinking about that one thing you did, the stumble in your words, the stain on your shirt, the joke that didn't land. But here's the truth. Almost no one noticed. And even if they did, they forgot about it a few seconds later. That anxious feeling that everyone's watching you, it's called the spotlight effect. And understanding it might just set you free from a lifetime of overthinking. The spotlight effect is the psychological tendency to believe that we're being noticed more than we actually are. And it's like walking into a room and imagining a giant spotlight shining down on you. When in reality, everyone else is too busy worrying about their own spotlight. The term comes from a study conducted at Cornell University in 2000. Researchers asked students to wear an embarrassing t-shirt, one featuring Barry Manilow's face, and then walk into a room full of strangers. When asked how many people they thought noticed the shirt, students guessed that about half the room did. In reality, only about 20% of people remembered anything about it. That's the spotlight effect in action. Our brains are wired to overestimate how much attention others pay to us, because to us, we're the center of our own world. We live our entire lives from inside our own heads, constantly aware of what we do, what we look like, and how we feel. So it's easy to assume everyone else is noticing those same details, but they're not. They're too busy thinking about themselves. There are three main reasons this happens. First, egocentric bias. We naturally see the world through our own lens. Every experience we have feels magnified because it happens to us. It's not arrogance, it's just how human consciousness works. Second is social anxiety. We want to belong. Evolution wired us to fear judgment because rejection used to mean losing safety, community, even survival. That fear still lingers even though our tribe today is just a classroom, an office, or a group chat. And third, information imbalance. You have full access to your own thoughts, feelings, and insecurities, but none of anyone else's. So when you feel awkward, you assume it's visible, when in reality, everyone else is too distracted by their own inner dialogue to notice. The spotlight effect doesn't just make you anxious, it limits your potential. It stops you from speaking up in meetings. It makes you rehearse text messages for hours. It makes you say sorry for things that didn't even bother anyone. Most importantly, it keeps you from being authentic because you're always editing yourself for an imaginary audience that doesn't exist. The irony? The people you think are judging you are usually thinking the exact same thing about themselves. So how do you break free from it? Let's go step by step. Step 1. Reality check. Test your assumptions. Next time you catch yourself thinking, everyone saw that mistake, or they must think I'm weird, pause for a second. Ask yourself, do I have any real proof of that? Most of the time, the answer is no. Try doing what researchers did in the Cornell study. Ask others what they actually noticed. You'll be surprised how rarely people pick up on the things you obsess over. This simple experiment reminds your brain, you're not under a spotlight, you're just in the room. Step 2. Reframe the situation. When you feel self-conscious, shift focus outward instead of inward. If you're giving a presentation, think, how can I make this helpful for them? If you're socializing, think, what can I learn about this person? The more you focus on the task or the other person, the less mental energy you waste monitoring yourself. Attention is a limited resource. Spend it outward, not inward. Step 3. Embrace imperfection. Nobody remembers your small mistakes because everyone is too busy making their own. Try this mental trick. Imagine your friend made the same slip-up you did. Would you think less of them? Probably not. So give yourself the same grace. Perfection isn't what makes people like you. Authenticity does. People connect with flaws, vulnerability, and laughter, not with robotic perfection. Step 4. Build exposure through action. Confidence doesn't come from thinking differently. It comes from doing differently. The next time you hesitate to raise your hand, volunteer, or join a conversation, do it anyway. Each time you survive a moment you thought would be embarrassing, your brain learns, wait, That wasn't so bad. That's how you retrain your mind, through small, consistent exposures to the situations that trigger overthinking. Over time, the spotlight dims because you realize it was never really shining on you. Step 5. Remember the everyone else rule. Everyone else is too busy thinking about themselves. They're worried about their hair, their tone of voice, their phone battery, their deadlines, their own insecurities. You are a background character in most people's day, and that's incredibly freeing. Once you accept that, you can start living with ease, humor, and focus, instead of fear. Here's the key takeaway. The spotlight effect is an illusion. You are not being watched, judged, or analyzed nearly as much as you think. The moment you stop living for the imaginary audience in your head, you unlock something powerful. The ability to be fully present, creative, and real. So the next time you feel embarrassed, remember, everyone's too busy starring in their own movie to notice your blooper reel. Be kind to yourself, focus outward, and live like no one's watching, because honestly, they aren't. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe for more videos on psychology, productivity, and self-growth. You're doing better than you think. See you in the next one.